Be that as it may, you have basically made what I call a clarion call, or you're rallying all and sundry in the party to basically look at the MPP and do everything possible to make sure that the party is left in peace and not in pieces.
Certainly.
United front, etc. But I think it's also important that we interrogate, because you see, some comments have been made. Which comments have attracted a reaction from Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia? As far as I'm concerned, sitting here, these comments have not been withdrawn. Okay? So, and some people have consumed this information and may inform their choice in terms of who leads them or who does not. So, in as much as I get it, if you say, look, let's smoke the peace pipe, let's look at the bigger picture, I get all of that. But the matter is still an issue. Dr. Bryan Acheampong says there is a government problem, and you have alluded to that. And then there is a candidate problem. The government problem, in his view, can be dealt with over time because of a very popular saying that you have been, a popular statement you've been making. You know, you attribute it to the President Mohammed, so Ghanaians have short memories. But the candidate's problem, according to Dr. Bryan Acheampong, it's not something you can wish away.
Well, he need to show us the data.
Very well. He says Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is Mampusi. Mm-hmm. Mampusis don't see eye to eye with Kusasis. In fact, now we're even told they don't see eye to eye with Gonjes. Mm-hmm. Something that came up just June. This year, the president himself has had to go to Savannah and called for peace and to reign and so on. So he says that if you vote for Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, your performance, especially in the upper regions, it's more specifically Upper East region, and everywhere a Kusasi person lives in this country, we don't know the numbers, we don't have the numbers, they will not, and their entire family will not vote for Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. You certainly do not want to present a candidate like that to Ghanaians in 2028 because you're already coming up with a party government. You're talking about first term, so you need a candidate who has less issues to deal with. What do you make of this claim or assertion?
He needs to show us the data.
Okay.
Because I'm not so sure that the data supports it. This assertion that Dr. Bawumia's ethnicity played a role in the outcome of the election.
Right.
I hate to use the phrase, we lost the election by 1.7 million votes. NDC won by that margin. I'm not so sure whether that necessarily means the NPP lost by that margin, if you get what I mean.
I get it. It's a half-glass full, half-glass empty kind of argument. I get it.
Yeah. So if you look at that and you ask yourself that, assuming that there was a candidate problem, is it a suggestion that the Mampusi, the Kusasis are 1.7 million, and as a result, they not voting for Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is the reason why we lost the election? It certainly cannot be the case. Okay, in any event, I've seen some data that clearly shows that Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia garnered some votes in the Boku enclave. Yes, it was a reduction from what we garnered in 2020 under His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. But that is the case across the country. In the Greater Accra region, in the Ashanti region, almost 740 or so, or thousand people just did not go to the polls. Greater Accra region, we're talking in the region of some 500,000 plus. Western region, everywhere across the country. The MPP vote of 2020 significantly reduced, except in the Upper East, I believe, region where we appreciated by a margin. And we've done some work. The party has done some work to identify the reasons for the outcome that we garnered in 2024. I haven't seen anywhere in that data that suggests that it was a Mamprusi-Kusasi problem that accounted for the loss that we suffered. I've seen some commentary on social media, for example, that skirt and loud voting is a regular feature in our politics.
Yeah.
And so you go to Western North, for example, where my good friend Alex Tete, who is not a Mamprusi, is not a Kusasi, he lost. Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, the MPP presidential candidate, also lost in that constituency. Question is if it was a vote against the candidature of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, why did Alex Tete, for example, lose? Examples have been cited with my good friend Alfred Obeng, okay, where you have Kusasis in his constituency. Okay, he lost his seat. Okay, so if it is the case that it was Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia who was the problem that was feeding into the outcome of the election, why did Alfred Obeng lose his seat? I lost my seat in Second D. Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia garnered more votes than myself in Second D. Okay, so really, I don't think that the data supports the assertion that it is his individual self that is the problem. Okay, we've had the key reason being the debt exchange. People actually suffered.
Yeah.
You had pensioners who went to picket at the Ministry of Finance. Very unfortunate situation. Okay, say government had signed onto an IMF program that required it to do both external and domestic restructuring of its obligations. Whether we carried the people along sufficiently enough, okay, which on hindsight, we probably did not, okay, and so they punished us. Right. Some punished us by staying away. I did rounds on election day. You couldn't feel the enthusiasm of the voters on the ground.
Right.
Okay, inflation issues, cost of living had gone up. It's not in doubt at all. Okay, and so those are factors that clearly you can't attribute to a candidate per se. Okay, it was a general economic tagging of our party as a government of state capture. You recall? Say we're living ostentatious lives. The president was flying, as far as I'm concerned, necessary travels.
So let's just say
there were myriad of issues that contributed to our loss.
Okay, but there's a second layer of the argument. Okay, so I'm coming to you shortly. But
there's a
second layer of the argument. Now, the second layer of the argument is that amongst the chief reasons why Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia was presented to Ghanaians, or in fact, among the chief reasons why proponents of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia were solidly behind him and were marketing him, was that in addition to his competences, or in addition to his attributes, he's also a northerner and also a Muslim.
Yes.
Now, the NPP has had a very, very genuine difficulty of winning over the Zango and the Muslim community. And I'm saying Zango because a lot of times people think that everybody in Zango is Muslim. No, there are Christians living there. So the Zango and the Muslim community. And that a Bawumia card, a Bawumia ticket will reverse, hopefully, that trend.
Yes.
And it was more or less like his USP, a unique selling point, or the market people say unique selling a proposal. Now, if the man goes into an election and delivers this outcome. Now, this outcome I'm talking about is not even the general outcome. But if you check the votes in the Zangos and within the Muslim community, you would agree that he didn't do well. How do you then, and it is within that bigger context where Dr. Bryan Acheampong is coming from.
On the contrary, it's a narrow context.
So he says...
You say that within that narrow context.
Okay, into Obra. Sorry. So that he says, if this is what you presented to us, and he said, I believed it, as Dr. Bryan Acheampong, that when we take Bamia to the context, this is what you do for us. We are back, and he didn't do that. In fact, our electoral fortunes have even dropped further. So as far as he is concerned, did the MPP go or did the MPP come? So the whole argument about his northern candidature and the electoral benefits, so that for him it's a non. In fact, he says in the last elections, this is what he did. How do you respond to that?
So why did the party, if this is the reason, right, that we performed the way we did, why did the party bother going around the nation soliciting for reasons why we lost? We could have just closed shop and said that, well, we said that we were presenting a northern candidate and that he was going to pull the magic for us. And so, to the extent that the northern candidate did not deliver, that's the reason why we lost the election. So let's focus and change our candidate to a southern candidate, and that will bring the magic.
Right.
But that's all what happened. And the data that has been generated by the various research that has been done clearly doesn't suggest that it was as a result of the personality of the candidate, the reason why we performed the way we did in the election. Okay. It then goes to confirm that indeed and in fact, bread and butter issues really determine how people vote as opposed to where they come from. Okay, so for me, that argument really is neither here nor there. Look, I don't want to personalize some of these things, okay, because like I said, it's an internal contest. But in the run-up to the election, we had Samuel Kudeto Ablakwa, my good friend. I was here with him. I was sitting here, he was on this side. You know, this side is the majority caucus, and this is the minority caucus. So every time I came in the studio, I made sure I sat on the right side.
You mean you know your level?
Sammy was here with documents. Ghanaians were sold a certain narrative that the MPP administration was embarking on a certain state capture. It fed into our performance in the election. All sorts of accusations against the snake transaction, for example. Okay. Look, there's a lot of blame to go around. And I think that as a party, we ought not be selective in nitpicking some of these things as basis for what it is that one candidate or other represented, or what contribution that one candidate or the other made towards our electoral fortunes. What it is this, that everybody, like I said, amply qualified. What is your vision? Dr. Bamia has outlined his. He outlined it in 2023. He didn't outline his northern strength necessarily for me to believe in his ability to lead our party into the election. I'm not convinced, okay, that his northern background necessarily should be what defines how we select our candidate. Of course, because of a certain pigeonhole that the MPP itself have been put in, chiefly by our NDC friends, that we are an Akan party. The thinking was that if we selected somebody who was non-Akan, we would break that pigeonhole description of our party to demonstrate that we are a national party, which we've been able to do, except that it is obvious from the research that has been done post the election that people from the Zongos and from the north felt that their economic circumstances, okay, were more important to them than voting for, if you like, their kith and kin. But certainly, if you look at the introduction of Dr. Bawumia into our body politic over the period, you can see that the MPP has grown in terms of numbers in places where we did not have that kind of support. Of course, people stayed away. Okay. And so what it is that we are able to do as a party between now and 2028 to get our key support base who for some reason felt that they were disappointed with us, they were unhappy with us, and so, well, they do not prefer the NDC who added only about 100,000 more to their 2020 votes. Okay. And so stayed away to punish us, come out fully to support us in 2028. That's what I think we need to focus on, not this tribalism and tribal sentiments that we are pushing. Right. I've heard some argue that, well, all the candidates have touted their, if you like, ethnic or religious background, some way, somehow, as basis for
appealing for votes.
Appealing for votes. Yeah. Well, maybe. And so we need to relook going forward whether that in itself should continue. Okay. And if it shouldn't, as an evolving democracy, as an evolving community, how we, change some of these things so that we can articulate our oneness as a people in subsequent election should be the focus.